101, inspiring entrepreneurs to rise, innovate, and create lasting impact. And today I have my special guest, founder of LifeAfter40.com, helping adults in midlife transform their health, wealth, and relationships. None other than Mr. Philip Blackett.
Thanks so much, Daniel. Happy to be here with you.
Welcome, Mr. Philip on Entrepreneurship 101. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Yeah, so my name is Philip Blackett. I'm here in the land of Disney World here in the United States near Orlando, Florida. And so I'm the founder of LifeAfter40.com, where my main goal is I help adults midlife transform their health, wealth, and relationships so they can thrive in the second half of life. It really came from my own midlife crisis I went through about a couple of years ago. And once I got through that, the main thing that went in my head, Daniel, was how many other people could I help, not just through their own midlife crisis, but, helping them go through this whole stage of midlife between 35 to 55 years old, where a lot of things are happening at the same time for a lot of people with regards to maybe their health. They realize their bodies aren't the same as they used to be. Maybe they're taking care of kids and maybe aging parents as well. Dealing with new technology, new and higher work responsibilities. There's just a lot of things happening at the same time for a lot of people in this age range that they often feel that they're going through it on their own and struggling through it quietly. So we're really trying to provide the right information and help for them so they can be able to get through this in the best place possible.
And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Philip. Thank you. And today let's talk about what high achievers get wrong about health after 40. So let's talk about the denial phase. Most 40 plus high achievers still train, eat, and push themselves like they are 25. Why is admitting that the body has changed so threatening the ego of someone who is used winning through sheer force of will?
Yeah, so I think the big thing here, Daniel, is that, as we get older, we soon recognize that our bodies aren't the same at 40 plus as it was when we were 20 years old, right? It happens to everyone. It's not personal. But if we don't recognize those changes, we tend to be on the struggle bus afterwards. So one thing to think about too is like once we get past a certain age, we start to lose muscle mass, usually like 5 to 8% per decade. And so what comes off more so is that what we eat on a day-to-day basis needs to change a little bit. We need more protein than we probably needed back then to help offset the natural muscle mass that we may be losing. In addition to that, we're thinking in terms of making sure that we're having the right healthy habits in place. So when we're able to do work and perform at a high level, how do we sustain it? So the thoughts of being able to hustle hard and have like 3 hours of sleep a night and that sort of thing, a lot of that's going to go out the window after a while if you're smart about it, because your body's going to be in a place where it needs more sleep to recover from the work you did the previous day. And if you're not providing that, then it means your body's going to be less likely to recover compared to where it was when you were in 20 years old. And if you're competing amongst colleagues that are 10, 20 years younger, you might find yourself struggling on the struggle bus again. So those are just two examples. It's just more so the thought of really getting past the thought that what I did when I was 20, 22 years old is something I can carry on for the rest of my life. Because if anything else, you just look in the mirror, you recognize your body is changing. Therefore, what you do to it should change as well.
Certainly, Mr. Philip. In your 20s and 30s, your body rewarded hard work and stress. After 40, That same approach often leads to injury, burnout, and weight gain. When did you personally realize that the old rules no longer apply?
Yeah, I think everyone's different. I think I recognize that right around 40 years old myself, right when I celebrate my 40th birthday. But I think for everyone else, it kind of depends. They might be a little bit before 40 years old, it might be a little bit after. All I do know is that it's gonna happen more than likely with everyone. And so the key is that when you do make that realization that hey, you know, my body is not responding to things as quickly or as effectively as they had been before, the question we should be asking ourselves then is okay, what is changing? And is what I'm currently doing the right way to go about it? Or should I look for a alternative way to better support my body, mind, and spirit going forward?
Well, Mr. Phillip, let's talk about the edge paradox. Many high achievers rely on a certain level of stress, caffeine, and adrenaline to maintain their performance edge. At what point does the edge stop being a performance enhancer and start being health liability?
Yeah, like I think adrenaline is good. I think everyone has a certain amount of stress to go over. It's just more so the question of how much of it is towards a breaking point. I know you had mentioned burnout before as well, where it's like we all get tired from a day to day basis. But when things get to the point where you're feeling like weary, like worn down, like the wear and tear is really like heading on to you, that it's a struggle for just day to day interaction at work or what you're doing, that should be an alarm sign for you to say, hey, listen, what have we been doing up to this point? And should we do some things differently to better sustain ourselves? Because adrenaline, stress, yes, all that is just something that we deal with on a day to day basis. But we have to look at this proactively in terms of what can we do to help us sustain those hard days, those stressful nights, and to be able to do it for a much longer period of time without having the need a vacation every month.
Mr. Phil, if you're always define yourself as the person who outworks everyone, how do you reconcile that identity with the new non-negotiable need for recovery, sleep, and strategic rest?
So I think you hit on a key point there, Daniel. I think identity has a lot to do with it after 40 for us because we recognize that what our identity was before is changing. And so a lot of it that may have been based on productivity, achievements, job titles, degrees, um, network connections, social media following, a lot of that stuff, we get to a point where now we have to reevaluate. What is it like now that we've gotten older? Is it still the same or is it different? And so when it comes to productivity and high performance, it's more so understanding that we probably should shift that to more about sustainability. We may not be able to do things exactly the same way for a longer period of time. We might have to make some tweaks or some adjustments to our lifestyle in our daily routine, and then understand that that's not necessarily a bad thing. So, the whole thought of this is what I used to be versus where I'm now, it's really important for us to be honest with ourselves and say, hey, is that still where we want to go with this, or do we want to embrace a new identity or a revised identity that says, hey, listen, I'm embracing who I am right now, and to give myself the best possible chance of success where I am right now in terms of age, we are making some adjustments that may require some adjustments and some changes. And so I think that's where it really gets to more about the mindset here, which oftentimes is the driver's seat on what you do on a day to day basis.
Mr. Philip, do you believe that life begins at 40 anyway?
I think life begins when you were born, or at least at conception. But, um, but I would say it. life can take on a whole new turn in midlife. It can take on a new dimension, a new chapter, a new journey in midlife, particularly on at 40 years old for some people, where, like I said before, you start to recognize how things were that first half of your life. You may have reached a turning point where there's new opportunities ahead of you if you embrace a new way, a new mindset, a new approach on going forward with that.
So, Mr. Philip, let's talk about the more is better fallacy. In business, more hours, more calls, more effort usually yield more results. Why does the more better mindset backfire so spectacularly when applied to fitness and psychology after 40?
So I think when you think of more is better, what it often means is that, you know, there's never really an end, right? Because once you're able to do 10 reps, more is better says, okay, next time we need to do 11. And if you do 11 reps the next time, then more is better says you need to do 15. And so there's not really a end point or end goal to reach. So you're constantly pushing yourself, pushing yourself, pushing yourself to get to that point. And if you're able to sustain it, then that's fine. But I think the problem here is that when you're at work on the job, that more is better. It's constantly asking for more from you. And so it's more of a question of how long can you keep doing that before it starts to be over demanding on you, that may actually have you at a breaking point and you're not able to do what you were used to do. And so now it's a point where it's like I can't even get to where I was before. So it's really about pacing yourself, coming up with healthy goals that challenge you, but doesn't overwhelm you.
Very well said, Mr. Philip. Very well said indeed. We hear about testosterone decline, but it's more than just a number. How does high achievers' chronic stress directly sabotage their hormones, and why do so many miss this connection until critical?
Yeah, so whether it's dealing with testosterone or estrogen, um, hormones for us as we get older, it naturally declines, whether it's through menopause for women or andropause for men, that often deals with corresponding declines in estrogen and testosterone. And so the thought that goes here is once again, understand what's happening and then explore what are your options to help better support it. So it may be doing some sort of therapy to help, increase your hormone levels. It may be working with your doctor or healthcare provider for different strategies, or maybe eating different types of food that are more conducive to building your hormone levels. It's just more so from that standpoint, Daniel. I would say is listen, um, everyone experiences this for the most part, and at the same time, it's understanding that, hey, if this is something that's likely to happen, how do we start proactively thinking to make the best of what we have and better support ourselves to increase what we're losing just from age?
So, Mr. Philip, let's talk about the living up here. High achievers live in their heads. Strategy, analytics, planning. When did you realize that you had to become so disconnected from your body that you were ignoring the physical signals it was sending you?
So I think a number of things come to mind when you're thinking about the mind in relation to your body. You're thinking also oftentimes is one, familiarity, what you're used to seeing or experiencing when you were younger, that may be a disconnect to where you are now that you're older. Two, an understanding about the surrounding culture and peer environment or even peer pressure, where you're seeing what other people are doing and you're asking yourself, why am I not at that level where I should be? Or even the peer pressure of like, you should be at this point from your peers. And You're doing it more so because someone else said it outside of you rather than doing what's best for you, right? Um, and then I think the other part of it too is just you may have a place where you're not having enough information about the changes in your body as you get older because a lot of people they visit their doctor once or maybe twice a year, for your normal checkup. Well, there's 365 days in a year. So the question then becomes, okay, what do you do for those 363, 364 days of the year outside of that in terms of understanding where your body is and how it's changing and how to best support it? And so I think a number of different things there with regards to your mindset come to the place where it's just like a lot of people are just, they don't have the right information. They don't know any better, right? And I do believe that if you know better, you do tend to do better. And so I think that's why, what we talk about at Life After 40 is so important to help people understand what's going on with their bodies and to be able to think in terms of what can they start to do to help better support that on a day-to-day basis before it gets too late down the road.
Very well said, Mr. Phillips. So tell us, what is lifeafter40.com?
So lifeafter40.com is basically an educational website. It provides a number of different um, posts and articles of information across our core four pillars: nutrition, exercise, mindset, and recovery, that really talk about various topics that we all experience to some degree in midlife. There's over 200 articles there that I've personally written and growing from here. And the main focus is really to provide a valuable resource for people to learn as they go what's going on and really, like I said, supplement what they may have gotten from their doctors that once or twice a year visits, and more importantly, really educate and empower themselves about how they can take more proactive care and support of their bodies, of their minds, their spirits, and that sort as they get older with the proper information.
Well, thank you for sharing to the world, Mr. Philip. And we are hoping for more lifeafter40.com to be implemented. So, as a founder, what are your short term and long term goals?
So, short and long term goals for me as a founder is, lifeafter40.com. We're just working on spreading the word about it, the good news about what we're doing here to be of help and of service to as many adults in midlife as we can globally. And so that's really like the short term goal moving towards that. And I think the long term goal is really have this as something that we do over the next 20, 25 years in a way that really helps out people as they get into this range of 35 to 55 years old to make sure that they have what they need to best support themselves, to transform their health, their wealth, and relationships so they can thrive in the second half of life. And so, if we're able to do that over the long term, I would definitely think that of that as a successful goal to achieve.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Philip, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be a founder like you?
So, I think the biggest piece of advice I would share is, you want to find something that is of service to people. Like, what's a problem? What's a big problem you're looking to solve for a number of people? And make sure that this is something that you feel particularly driven and passionate about to do the work on a day-to-day basis to help bring your dream or your vision to life. So it's one thing to have the idea, it's another thing to have the execution alongside of it consistently each day. And so I think that's really helpful there to put it all together with the goal of helping serve people outside of yourself ultimately so they have a better life because of you than before.
Thank you for that empowering advice, Mr. Philip. So let's talk about the ego drop. What is one specific thing you use to be able to do a certain lift or sport or all nighters that you have to make peace with letting go of an order that stay healthy?
Yeah, so for me, I definitely try to limit the number of all nighters. That's for one. Like I said, I'm not 21 years old anymore, so sleep is really important. So one thing for sure is I try to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, and I recognize from that standpoint that sleep is a huge portion because when you're asleep, your body is actually repairing itself while you sleep. And so the more time you give yourself to repair, the more likely you're able to lift heavier and greater things that next morning than not. So I really think that sleep is underestimated because it seems so simple. But with that being said, I think it's one that's a cardinal piece of the puzzle for people over 40 to make sure they protect that sleep so they can give themselves the best chance in the morning to do what they need to do at work and to be successful at it.
Mr. Philip, discipline got you to the top, isn't it? But discipline after 40 might mean walking away from the gym before enjoy yourself or going to bed early instead of answering emails. How does very definition with discipline have to evolve?
Yeah, so I think discipline it's applicable either way, right? You might think of discipline on one end when you're younger, make sure you're the first one there at the office and you're the last one to leave, And as you get older, it might be one to say, "Hey, listen, you might have kids. And you say, listen, I need to get my work done from 9 to 5 o'clock because after 5 o'clock, I need to go ahead and pick up my kids from school and take them to their extracurricular. And then when we get home, I'm going to be mindful of my family and put away the work phone until after dinner." That is a discipline in itself to be present with your family and then say, "Hey, after dinner, I can check my email from this time to this time, but after 8 o'clock, we shut it off because we do bedtime with the kids, spend time with your spouse, and we get ready for bed ourselves." So that is still discipline, meaning in terms of not punishment, but you are working with yourself to adhere to certain standards, certain routines to help make sure that you're in the best possible place to flourish. And understanding that it's a different environment now that you're older. It may not be just you, it might be other people to consider nowadays too. But you're doing that in a way that if you're able to do that consistently each day, that should help you become successful, not just for the next day, but also going forward in the long term as you continue to get older.
Very well said, Mr. Philip. But before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in sixth season. Abstract poetry and third season, and of course, my book 101 review in sixth season too. Comedy 101 in fourth season, and my food 101 in sixth season as well. Geography 101 love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 are in fifth season, science 101, sex 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast, trivia 101, motivation 101, spiritual awakening 101. Entrepreneurship 101, mental health 101, coaching 101, and of course my Bible verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Philip, if we stop measuring health by bench press max or hours worked before burnout, what is a better metric for high achievers to track that actually correlates with long, vibrant, and impactful life?
So I think about it from the standpoint of, for somebody's personal records in the weight room, that might not be the go-to success metric for you. It might be more so in the sense of, with what you got going on, how is your day-to-day attitude? Are you happy with where your life is right now? Are you motivated and excited for where things are going? This is more so to think of in terms of not only attitude, but how you feel as far as your physical body, but also the relationships you have with the people you care about. There's a number of different things that are more holistic rather than personal records on a weightlifting room.
Well, Mr. Philip, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever projects you want to promote on Entrepreneurship 101?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those who want to learn more about Life After 40, head on over to our website at lifeafter40.com. And to learn more about me and how I help people as far as our digital products and our coaching, head over to philipblackett.com to see how we can work together.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Philip Blackett because if you support him, for sure, more and more lifeafter40.com will rise. So, Mr. Philip, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Modicom people, see you soon.